These are the moments where I absolutely thrive. The San Francisco 49ers, if you missed it, made a pretty solid move, pretty big move, a big impact move by restructuring George Kittle and Trent Williams. The restructure resulted in the 49ers clearing up $23 million in cap space. Also, by extending Nick Bosa, there is a good opportunity for the 49ers to clear even more cap space. So the question circling on Twitter and what a lot of people are talking about right now is, why did they do this? Are they gearing up to make a home run move? And as I'm sure you have heard, there is news that multiple defensive ends are kind of unhappy right now and could potentially get traded. Obviously, Brian Burns is one of them, and we've heard from Chandler Jones might potentially being out, amongst others. So the question is, can we actually feasibly have a legitimate conversation about the San Francisco 49ers potentially not only signing Nick Bosa to an historic deal, but going out and trading for another elite edge rusher like Brian Burns? So if you know anything about me, if you know anything about this channel, I have done dedicated lives and videos about the 49ers trading for Brian Burns this offseason, talking about not only paying Nick Bosa, but also trading for Brian Burns. And what is the validity of that? How does this actually work? So again, one of my main guys who I ask any questions about the cap is Jason Hurley, and he goes by 49ers cap. He literally has a website dedicated to tracking the 49ers cap and everything in between. And he says this about Bosa's structure and what these restructures mean. But he goes on to say, depending on Bosa's structure, these restructures of George Kittle and Trent Williams could have been done to front load Bosa's deal. But if not, the 49ers have a crap ton of cap space and cap room for an in-season move or two, like 30 million right now to play with, or to carry it over into 2024. This could be huge. Are the San Francisco 49ers right now pushing all the chips into the middle of the table? Because let's take a look at this Brian Burns situation. I've been trying to manifest this Brian Burns trade for probably 3 years now. So if we look at it in real time, the situation right now, as it's been reported, the Panthers are only willing to pay Brian Burns around $23 million per year on average. He's looking for 27 to 28. And that's a huge gap. Like, that's a really big gap. He had a little bit of a holdout this week after holding in for this offseason, but it's clear that doesn't look like a deal is going to crystallize. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. But Brian Burns showed back up to practice today. Could the 49ers actually angle to trade for a player like Brian Burns? Now, think about it. What would it take to go get Brian Burns? Now, a lot of people think it would take multiple first-round picks, which the Panthers turned down. The Panthers turned down multiple first-round draft picks from the Rams last year. But now this is a bit of a different situation, because right now Brian Burns is going to be playing is technically on his 5th-year option, and he's angling for a contract extension. Listen, just bear with me as I continue to kind of work through this. Because he needs to get paid, that is going to significantly lower his value via a trade, meaning he would probably still require maybe a first-round draft pick, maybe a player and some picks, but it won't be as much. He's basically lost value opposed to last year, because whichever team is trading for him has to pay him. So it's kind of an offset in a sense. So that could make Brian Burns effectively cheaper in regards to assets given up. Now, you still have to pay him. you're still going to have to pay Brian Burns in that range, $27 to $28 million per year on average. That's a lot of money, but clearly they have cap space right now, and maybe they can figure it out and get it done underneath the current parameters of the cap. But the thing here is fundamentally, you should be able to get Burns at a discount opposed to last year, because you have the opportunity to buy him from a team who isn't going to pay them. So the other team knows they are basically sending him off because they're unwilling to pay. So that makes the overall assets kind of devalued in a sense to be able to go get Brian Burns. Now, we've seen stuff like this happen before where people have been traded amidst contract negotiations, that the value goes down because the team that's trading for them also has to pay them. They have to pick up the tab. That's why the assets go down in regards to what the 49ers could potentially do. So, again, I don't know what the 49ers are doing, why they're clearing all this cap space. I have not a clue. But for me, it feels like they've got one more trick up their sleeve. What is that trick? Is it going and getting an edge? Is it going and get a cornerback? What are they trying to make a move here before the season starts? And listen, out of any other year, in a win now year, this would be the time to go out and absolutely get after it. And if we look at the situation right now, the San Francisco 49ers, across from Nick Bosa, they got Cleveland Farrell and they got Drake Jackson. Not sure those guys are striking fear into the heart of any opposing offensive lines. Now, they might have quality years. Drake Jackson could have a breakout year. But if you go and get Brian Burns and you have a defensive line that is Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Brian Burns, it could be in the conversation for one of the best defensive lines ever assembled. Could you imagine if that was the 49ers defensive line? That means the offense could literally put up 14 points a game, and they're probably winning every game they play because that defensive line would absolutely suffocate any other team in the NFL. Again, I've been spinning on how do you trade for Brian Burns for years. He's probably my favorite player not on the 49ers. So the fact that he's having a falling out with the Panthers, the fact that he needs to get paid and is going to lower the price that it would take to trade for him, and the 49ers have all this cap space now that they just cleared with Trent and Kittle. Is this the door? Is there a sliver? Could this happen? Am I crazy? Am I losing it? Am I just high off good vibes right now? You tell me in the chat below if I'm losing my marbles. But it feels like there could be an actual opportunity. If they wanted to do it, they could feasibly go and do it. They have first-round draft picks. In fact, they have 11 picks coming up in this upcoming draft class. You tell me, am I crazy? Could they do it? Are they trying to get something done? Are they trying to make a splash move? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments below. And make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.